Oh, so it's episode 301 of the
Yeah,
Culture Trail Running Podcast.
that's right.
Nice.
We could talk about all
Uh,
the fun stuff that happens on the
yeah, the
trail.
fun shit that happens on the trails and the raw and explicit. All
Yeah, yeah.
right.
From the belly of the Beast Coast, Glastonbury, Connecticut, this is the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. We talk about all the fun shit that happens on the trails that most normal people don't care about. The language we use is f***ing explicit and raw like the trails we run on. So don't listen with your kids! Cultra is brought to you by our patrons and supporters, and we are 112% listener supported, and support is good.
Well,
Yeah.
we're here with Vin Capp.
Yep,
Vin, tell us you have a full name. Tell us your full
I
name.
do. All right, it's just Benny Capadora. But I think on Facebook recently, which is funny because like growing up, I always wanted a nickname, and Cap seems to like fit really well. But I'm not gonna like call myself my nickname and like tell other people, and it never like stuck. And it's taken effect now more than anything because I got off Facebook a bunch a while ago, and I just put Vin Cap in there instead of my actual name, and now more people
Yeah,
actually think that's my name.
I can
dude.
remember when you were on the Ultra list years
Yeah,
ago, and you were
I
Vin
still
Cap
am.
on the Ultra list, and then I was like, I heard like Vin Capadora did something, and I was like, who's that guy? Yeah, like, oh, they're the same person, right? All
Yeah,
right, I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still on there. There's nothing happening there. Like it's just
No,
like,
I know. It's kind of
yeah,
sad.
agreed, agreed. I miss it.
I ran into a dude at uh Umstead this year. I was supposed to stay in one of the cabins, but I ended up staying in a hotel. So I had a cabin reserved. And so I went to the cabin after dinner. And this guy comes up to me and he's like, "You staying in the cabin?" I'm like, "No, I was going to, but my wife decided to come down with me. So we're staying in a hotel and then she's gonna deliver me in the morning." And he's like, "All right." And like uh introduces himself, shakes hands, and he says, "I'm Smitty." And I'm like, "Smitty from the Ultra List?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "I'm Phred." And he's like, "Phred from Connecticut?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So we had like a little
Oh
Ultra List
yes.
moment.
That's
And then he
awesome.
said, "You're part of the reason why the Ultra List is so moribund because you don't post anymore." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I promised him I would post, and I haven't. So
No,
I kind of suck, but I'm still planning on it.
one day.
Yeah.
You know,
It used to be
The
like
Ultra List, dude. I love when you.
pretty full of information. It was actually kind of fun.
I was.
Like
I
some of
mean,
the
that
other
was where
dudes
I
would
got
actually give
tons
you
of info.
helpful information and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
When I, when I first got into ultras, a dude told me he was like, check out Ultra List, check out
mhm,
Stan Jensen's Run 100's website. This was like in what
yeah,
2012 or whatever, whenever I
yeah.
started running ultras or 2011. And like I was like, cool. And I would check that stuff every day. And I would never post. I would just lurk the threads and read. And it was you're right. There was a wealth of
Yeah.
like freaking ultra knowledge in there. Like
Yep.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was,
people talk
and the
about
thing.
how to mix Aunt Jemima or how to mix syrup into your water for like if you want to make a sports drink or whatever. Like if you were, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome, dude.
Oh yeah. And some
Yeah.
people had
I
some
think
wacky concoctions too, you
Oh
know.
some,
yeah.
somebody posted like Anton Krupicka goes out, he just all he eats is Nutella and he puts it on like whole wheat tortillas. So I did a bunch of runs with, and I fueled like 4 hour runs with nothing but fucking Nutella and whole wheat tortillas, dude. Because I saw it on the ultra list, dude.
You're like, I'm like Anton. I'm gonna run up this mountain now. Yeah.
I had to take like 6 months off of Nutella after that.
You just can't touch it. We almost killed somebody with Nutella at one of our races once. Dude,
Oh shit.
yeah, we made Nutella sandwiches, and I don't know what it was. I think like somebody was there, and they were like just telling them. They were like, "Oh, these are peanut butter. This is whatever." And when he told them they were Nutella, he like jumped away and like put the sandwiches down. He was severely allergic to Nutella, to hazelnut.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be bad. You don't want
Damn.
somebody to go with the anaphylactic shock. That's
No, not at all. Not at all.
bad for your day.
Yeah, yeah, sure, of course.
Wait, what race was
That
this
was at
at?
Tesla last year, I think, or the year
At
prior.
Tesla Hertz.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And the dude that's run
All
our
right. So
races a bunch of times, we're like, ooh,
So wait, we should tell the listener that Vin
There you
is
go.
the RD of Tesla Hertz.
Yeah.
Tesla Hertz is 106 miles, or wait, let's see, it's
It's
longer than 100, right?
yeah, it's a 10.48 mile loop, and we've got 50K, 50 mile, 100K, 100 mile, and 150 mile. And then we also have two 10 mile races, a daytime and a nighttime one.
Oh, nice. And what's the date of that?
Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day weekend. I don't ever remember the date.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
right
like
on.
the 12th this
Yeah.
year, something like that. 12th of
And
October.
there's still spots left. Sign up, folks,
Yeah, it's
right?
tons of spots. Yeah.
It's an awesome race. I've done it twice. Very, very nice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool.
It's 4 marathons, so it's pretty
Yes.
cool, you know.
Yeah.
So,
That's the coolest part. And that
Oh,
we
that's
found that out
awesome.
by
That's a
accident.
flex.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing too. Like we literally didn't do anything to make that intentional. It's just the way the course lays out. I mean, we could have made it a little bit easier, but then we would have to hike all the stuff in but at both aid stations about half a mile, and that would have sucked.
Hells yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And so, all right, what else do you race direct?
So we do.
That's on Long Island, right? And now
Yep.
you're like you're in Ithaca, or yeah.
We are. We're right outside of Ithaca. We moved up here probably about 10 years ago, almost, maybe a little less than that. After running a bunch of like Ian's races and the Finger Lakes races and all that stuff, and just kind of finding people. I'd worked for Spartan for a while and found just didn't need to live in a place that didn't. It was just as long as we had an airport, we can move there. So Nicole and I were looking at a bunch of different places, and it just kind of fit. But now we put on Beast of Burden January and August, and then we put on I'm gonna have to pull up the website. We put on Beast of Burden, we put on Shore to Shore, which is a 50K point to point on Long Island, starts at the North Shore, ends on the South Shore. Last year we put on this year we put on a 100K, and we probably won't be doing that anymore because the 50K is just good. And then we took over Virgil Crest and Water Gap from Ian. Virgil Crest is in Cortland, right up here, right outside of Ithaca. Water Gap is down right outside of East Stroudsburg. And then we do Tesla Hertz in October. And then I do some other stuff too, here and there.
So the Water Gap one, is that like 10 loop thing?
No, that's just a 50K. It's an out and back.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea, Ian had this really cool idea. It's a really nice trail. The McDade Trail, I think it is. Really nice over there. And the point-to-point thing would be really sweet. Unfortunately, the parks are just kind of like, I don't know, they like the out and back thing. It's, I guess that area is just easier for them to manage. And they consistently over the past 6 years have had issues with that trail. So it's just nice, like that chunk of trail we can use.
Okay, so it starts near the Delaware Water Gap and goes up the McDade Trail and then comes back.
Yeah, it starts at Smithfield Beach, which is like 10 minutes away from Stroudsburg. And then it just goes out a little bit, turns around and comes back. And it's a really pretty run. I mean, the foliage is awesome that time of year, and you're running right along it, and you can't see it too much, but you can, if you get like a break in the woods or whatever, you can see the water next to you. And then I'd have to say 80%, if not more, there's crops on the other side of you. So it's just a really nice run.
Yeah, and that trail, it's not just straight and flat. It like
No.
moves around a little, has a little elevation, does some stuff, right? So yeah, that's pretty good. I've been on that part, and I've actually taken it all the way up to Milford.
Yeah. That's the idea, is that it would be the whole 50K from Milford to, I forget where the finish line would be.
So that's up in that like corner up Delaware River. What's it? The Lackawaxen comes in from PA. The Neversink comes in from like New York. Is that all like up around where 84 goes through?
I don't think it's that high. I suck with that kind of. Yeah, I think it's just lower than that. It's right on the border of Jersey
South of that,
and PA.
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so that's closer to where 80 crosses.
Mm-hmm.
The 84 on the north end of the McDade Trail, basically. So
like where Delaware Water Gap is. I guess it's called Water Gap. Duh, it should be. Yeah, okay, duh. I've been through. All right. Oh, that's 80 that goes through there, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's near Art's Wolf Refuge. right? Remember when Art
Oh
told
yeah,
us
yeah,
like
the
a
wolf.
couple years ago, like, oh, there's a wolf refuge down there. We were like, that's bullshit. There are no wolves
Yeah,
in New Jersey, but turned out there was.
I
Timberwolves in
mean,
New Jersey.
there was an African zoo in New Jersey for a long time.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Dude, the Cape May County Zoo is actually a really good zoo.
Mm.
Like legit. If you're gonna take a ride all the way down to the southern tip, it's free, it's donation based, and they've got like sad animals. Like they got a snow leopard that just doesn't move because it's way too fucking hot for it. I think it's like, I mean, it gets balls hot in South Jersey in the summertime, dude. Like, and
Just
this
a
poor snow leopard's
leopard
like, fucking
hanging
kill
out.
me. He's like, somebody come in here and fucking shoot me. Oh, yeah, okay, cool, man. All right, so you
Yeah,
put on a whole bunch of races here in
yeah,
New York and PA.
yeah.
That's rad, dude. How'd you get into running and ultra running, dude?
So I started running when it's typical bullshit. I started in high school, and then I started smoking and doing drugs and stuff, and I was like, all right, that was staying healthy sucks. So I did all that stuff for a while. I got married, had a kid, got divorced, and was like, I need to do something. So I just got
Mm.
up and I started running again. I liked it. I was when I started running in cross country, it was kind of because my parents tested me for ADD at the time. And I don't know, my mom's still kind of like tight-lipped about like the results of it, but she said that like at that point they were like, here, you gotta go do something with yourself. So I started cross country and I
Mm.
loved it. And then I needed to like kind of do that again, right? Like I needed to like get back and burn some energy. So I started running again, and then decided I was going to train for a marathon because my like when I was in high school, I told myself that when I was 30, I would run New York Marathon or I would run it before then. Obviously can't because of Lotto and all that bullshit. So I decided to run the San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon. And it was
Oh,
doing
cool.
it through one of those like fundraising things. And I met my wife while I was training for it. It was like a 14 or 15 mile run. It was the furthest I had ever run. And I was like, this sucks. And I started talking to her and then we just hit it off and kept running together and enjoyed our time together. And then one day I was looking at like, I don't know what it was. It was like either Runner's World or something. And I could still see the cover. And it's just this like, it was this weird abstract drawing of this dude in like striped tights. And he had this story about running 100 miles and like
Was
how
it Eric
amazing it
Clifton?
was. I don't know, maybe.
Then that
That
dude
might have
that
been
dude always wore like crazy tights, right? Like
that might have been it, yeah. But
Freddie's
it was
Freddie's
all
shaking
that
his head.
stuff.
Yes, yeah.
What is it? What was it? Aaron Clifton?
Eric
Eric.
Clapton.
Eric Clifton. He was always
Yeah.
in like Ultra Runner magazine when I first started.
Very,
And they were like
very
Eric
fast.
Clifton. He live up in the Sacramento area. And yeah, he would set tons of age group records in his like 50s
Yeah.
and 60s and shit. And he would wear crazy spandex like designs. Like I think they were women's tights because the dudes' tights are just usually black. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, I would get down with those. I would wear crazy like Zubaz tights and shit. Remember
No wonder.
Zubaz, the 90s NFL shit, dude?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
that was
rad,
it. So
dude.
I read that and I was like, this sounds interesting. And that was back. So like I got into it, I guess, around the same time you did, 2010, 12, somewhere in there. And it was just like at that point, you couldn't find 100 every friggin' weekend, So like you had to
Yeah,
travel
yeah.
for them or whatever it was. So I ended up running Virgil Crest and I ran the 50 mile and got my ass kicked because I was from Long
Nice.
Island and I ran this like upstate-ish mountains and just got destroyed. And I was like, I absolutely loved that. It was great. And then that was it. We were hooked.
This wacky lifestyle does that to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, right? Like somebody's either like all in or they're like, no, this is stupid. I'm not doing this.
Yeah. So I'm looking at
Maybe
your
they're both,
first
right?
50K.
This is
That's
stupid. I'm
blazing
not
fast.
doing this. Then they do it anyway. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, your
Exactly.
first
Yeah.
your first 50K is fast, dude.
No way.
4:39. That's pretty good, dude. I think a
I guess.
sub 5 hour 50K is fast, dude.
Yeah, but that was what, like comp set, right?
Yeah, that was East Ice that comp set. That's the 50K championship. Yeah, that's always in
Yeah.
comp set, right? It's the 10K loops or whatever.
5K loops.
And then, but then you ran a 429 50K, Sybil Luddington in Carmel, dude. Like,
and that's got some hills. Sybil's got hills.
Does.
Yeah.
I was chasing this dude all day who just had I complimented his thighs when we finished. Not his thighs, his calves. Yeah. We finished. I'm like, dude, you got the nicest calves I've ever seen. He's like, what?
Yeah, Bessick told me that once, and I was like so flattered. And I was like, I'm gonna remember that to the day I die. Yes. It's one of those things you're like, oh, dude, that's so awesome. Yeah. You got great calves.
I was just talking about that race to somebody, man. That race was friggin' awesome. It was so nice. It was just and it was I don't know, because I recently ran Manitous, and finishing next to a church was beautiful. And that was the same thing. It was like Sybil, you finished on the side of the road. The aid stations were a couple of it was just an old couple, and their minivans just leapfrogged each other. So you just you ran up to their minivan, got what you wanted out of it, and then the next person was there, and when everybody passed, they went to that. It was awesome.
That's awesome. That is amazing. I want to know legit, who is Sybil Luddington?
Oh, I know who Sybil Luddington is. You want a history lesson?
Go for it.
Sybil Luddington. No. Sybil Luddington was the Paul Revere of the Upper Hudson River Valley. She was the daughter of some patriot, and he put her on a horse at 10 o'clock at night and said, ride this circuit out to Danbury and alert all the people that the British are coming up the Hudson. Yep. And so she did it. Yeah. Some 1775 or something.
That's
and
awesome.
It was similar to that route or something like that. It was near it or something. Yeah. It was. I was actually really sad when I saw that race wasn't around anymore. That was a really cool race. I can't imagine.
Carmel, New York, I think is where. Yeah, I think that's where.
Yeah, but it was a road 50K. It was I couldn't imagine trying to put that on now with permitting and whatnot.
Was it the route? Was it the route she took, kind of, or
more or less? Yeah.
I'm sure it had awesome. Some differences, but yeah.
She didn't take the interstate.
So that's great.
That's
we should name let's name more ultras after non-ultra runners. Because when I was in the Bay Area, and it was Dick Collins Fire Trails 50. It was my first 50 miler. I did the Ruth Anderson Ultras. There was also the Jed Smith out in Sacramento. They were all ultra runners, right? So I'm like, oh. And then I remember once a friend of mine was like, yeah, outside of Pittsburgh, I did this race, the Rachel Carson race or whatever. And I'm like, oh, Rachel Carson, was she a badass ultra runner? He's like, no, she wrote that book Silent Spring, about we're destroying the planet Earth, whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. They have races named after non-ultra runners. That's so cool.
That is awesome.
You've got Tesla
Sybil Luddington's another non-ultra runner that.
Yeah, Nikola Tesla, as far as I know,
did
not run ultras. I don't
think so.
That's true. That's you bucking the trend, Vin. So we got to do this. I got my next. I'm going to change one of the Brooksville races to the who's a non-ultra runner. Damn, I don't know anyone except ultra runners.
Pick one of the three judges.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Whaley and Goff. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. I don't like any of them, dude. But whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know judges. That's me. You can do better than that. Maybe it could be like the.
You know what though? Although
how about that?
No, one of my friends could be judged soon. Barrister Dolan, Michael Dolan.
Oh yeah, that's right.
For probate judge of Hampton and Bethany.
Yeah,
I'm voting for him. I don't know if I can vote for him because I'm not registered Democrat anymore. Damn. I went further left, guys. I'm sorry.
Can you be a registered socialist? Is that part of what you know?
No, I'm registered in the working it's called WFP, the Working Families Party because I'm like, yeah. It's like what the Democrats should be, but I'll still vote Democrat, guys. I don't care.
It's okay.
All right, moving on. Vinny, are you going to check out any of the Phish shows coming up this weekend, dude?
No, I need to. I haven't got to one. I was going to go down to Bethel. And then I was kind of
that's this weekend. That's
holding out. Yeah, I know. I was holding out, man. They had freaking maybe we'll see. Maybe Sunday night.
They still have camping passes and shit, dude.
I know it's crazy.
And I was like, I
wanted to go to the festival.
So I gotta. Oh, I know a bunch of folks going to the festival.
I was
Fred,
holding
you
out
gonna
for
be
the
you going down to
festival. I
Delaware
was
for the
hoping
festival?
yeah, right. I was hoping they would whatchamacallit. So a while ago we were supposed to time their race that was at Watkins Glen. They had a festival at Watkins
Oh,
Glen,
right.
and we were supposed to time. They were supposed to do a 5K
Super
during
Bowl.
that.
Okay.
So I was kind of holding out, hoping that they would reach out again, but somebody told me that they used to do all their stuff internally, so like their festivals and their booking and like all that stuff, and now they've kind of outsourced it to an agency or something. So I guess the agency wasn't doing outside stuff or anything like that, because the general manager reached out to me and she was like, "Hey, we want to put on a 5K." I went down to Watkins Glen. It was really cool. I met all their like staff and everything.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was what, 2015 or
Whenever Curveball was. So
that's what it
something
was,
like that.
Curveball.
2020. No, it was well before COVID. So like 2018 or something like that.
All right.
Right?
Sweet. I think so. I think what they're doing now is I think it's like the club that started on Facebook is doing like all of this stuff, whatever, the Antelope Running Club, whatever.
Yeah, that was what we did it with. It was
Okay.
them. They did a lot of that stuff, but it was still, but yeah, they're doing it. It was, and I mean, that's awesome. I hope it's great, but I was just being cheap and holding out because part of our pay was bracelets. So I was hoping to just scooch in there and get bracelets.
Just go see that. I would do if they were like, "Hey, would you do that?" I'd be like, "I just want to go to the festival for free. Like, I'll do whatever you guys want."
Yeah, no, she was really like
I'll time a
argumentative
chicken
about
race,
that
guys.
too.
I'll time it. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah, because I told her, I'm like, I'll just take tickets. And she was like, no, we'll pay you, and blah, blah, blah. Went through all that. And then even after they canceled it, I was like, you don't have to pay. And she was like, nope, absolutely. And she paid the full invoice. And I was like, dude, you didn't have to do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're really cool people. They take care of people.
Yeah.
Are you going down there or no?
I'm going all three. Yeah. I'm going to go tomorrow night. I'm leaving. I'm going to go straight from work, and I got a campsite, but I'm thinking it's going to be a deluge. It's going to be like Woodstock, like conditions, whatever. So I was like, wow, am I going to be wearing I'll be wearing a Houdini and pants probably at a summer outdoor show. I'm like, this is going to be wild. It's going to be fucking crazy rain tomorrow night. So I'm camping, but I was like, you know what? I think I've got a CRV, and when I put the seats down, I have an air mattress that fits like exactly in the back. So I was like, I'm sleeping in the back probably.
Yeah, for
at
sure.
the campsite, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Saturday and Sunday night, my buddy's coming up from Philly, and his sister has a place that's like a half hour from there, like Hawley.
Oh, cool.
Right. I think in that we're gonna stay there, whatever. So, and never miss a Sunday show. So roll down for Sunday, bro.
I should.
Yeah.
Yep.
Although I sold my Sunday ticket back when I had tickets for the 3 nights at Great Woods. And sold my last night, or Xfinity Center, whatever it's called now. But I sold my tickets for the last night, whatever. And and I was like, I would have been wrecked at work. I was like, by the time I would have got home at like 3 a.m. because my plan was to drive back after the show. And I was like, I don't want to sleep like 3 hours and then be with.
Yeah, but wasn't that the night with like the 40-minute tweezer too, though?
Yeah, that was a really good night because I was like, everyone's like, you missed a Sunday show. I'm like, I know, and that's like the saying, don't ever miss a Sunday show. I was like, I had to. I was like, I had to be an adult. Like I was like, I know I'm going to be absolute trash for work, and I can't call out.
Right.
Like, so, and you know what? Like I only had to eat like $20 on the ticket. I put it up on the message board, whatever, and it was gone. Yeah. It was gone in like an hour. So yeah.
Cool.
Fans are rad. I like a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Freddie, you going to Bethel? You want to go to Bethel?
No, I wish I could. I just have shit to do. I haven't seen them in years. I really got to get back to a show or 2 or 3.
They're really tight right now. They're playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear. I've heard that's a good year.
The first night they. So I went to the tour opener, and I remember like, I don't know, probably like third or fourth song. I turned to the guy next to me. I was like, "Sounds like they've been practicing." And he's like, "You think?" I'm like, "They're really tight, dude." Like, there were tours where like I would see them and I'm like, "Wow, they were fucking awful." They like they don't practice. I don't even think they talk to each other right now. Like, back in the dark days of 1 and 2.0. Get to one of those shows, man. Good to meet you in person.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
So at Tesla 2022, I was there, and Vin has live Phish playing the whole time at the start finish aid
Nice, dude.
station.
Yeah.
Like, and I think a lot of people saw that as like an incentive to get out of the aid station fast. They're like, oh my God, what is this noise? Right. And I felt exactly the opposite. I was like, I'm gonna sit in the chair, hang for a while, like get into this.
It's you know what it was, man. It was just it got put on, and that was just it. Like there's like whatever it is on Spotify, like the best Phish jams or some shit. I don't know, whatever the playlist was. It's like 54 hours, and I was like, that's perfect, and just hit it. And I was like, forget it, let it play.
It's only 12 songs.
Yeah. And like I don't mind it, but when you get into like some of those like really weird vocal jams again, they're like people are like, what is this? I'm like, I don't, but just go run. Like
if you don't like it,
I was convinced back in the 90s when I was going to a bunch of shows like that I was like, I'm pretty sure they're doing this jam, like this really dark, dissonant thing. They're doing it just to fuck with me. Like
yeah, they absolutely were. They absolutely were. Because they've been there. It's the same reason that you fuck with a buddy who's too high, right? Like they do it and you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
No, but then I always tell people like that's a cool band. And it's like and running club folks on. They're pretty rad. But like I think it would be I think one of the cool like I don't know. I just think that's such a cool band, and the fact that they have like a running club, like, and they do meetups and run at shows and stuff, like, So I'm finally gonna get to do one. I'm gonna do one Saturday morning.
Oh, nice.
With the so Sarah, who's leading it, Sarah does co-race directing for Kim Levinsky and stuff. So Sarah's super rad, and I know her super well. So she's leading the run. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a blast. So
yeah, that's right.
Get to go see my fishy friends do some running, and then they have like. At Bethel, whatever, like for the whole weekend, because there's keep treating it like almost like a festival because there's camping and stuff.
Yeah,
like they're gonna have like yoga and shit, and they have like stuff going on all day, both days. I'm like, oh, dude, this is rad. Like, I hope they have goat yoga. I want to do yoga with goats. Like, I've never done that. I heard people love it. Like, the goats will come up and like while you're posing, and they'll come and like try to like eat your butt and stuff. Like,
I don't know how they do that. So my wife does that rover thing where like. You go and watch or walk people's dogs. And some lady reached out and she was like, can you do my farm animals? So my wife and kids went and did it. And they would come home and be like, this goat headbutted me. This goat knocked me over. Like, I mean,
my camp has goats. We have at this camp I'm at Common Ground here in New Haven. Like, we have goats, we have tons of chickens, like and ducks and stuff. Like we teach the kids all this, like how to take care of them and stuff, whatever.
And would you do yoga around your goats though? Like the goat would fuck me up, man.
So, dude, these goats are dicks, man. Like, they had to put one down because it broke its foot, and then like they tried to like cast it or whatever, and it just like fucking ate the cast off, and they wouldn't let it, so they like, had to go put this one goat down, whatever. I'm like, that's a stubborn motherfucker right there.
Go ahead, kill me. I don't care.
But, the kids are always like, Jimmy. They're like, Jimmy, what happened to Maple? I'm like, who's Maple? I'm like, I don't know. I like gaslight them. I'm like, I don't know. We didn't have 3 goats. We only have 2. We have Barley and Phoenix, guys. Stop fucking around. Like,
weird. You guys are
Maple's dead.
A goat.
They like other counselors were like, oh, Maple went to a better place. I'm like, Maple dead, yo. Maple's dead. Okay, they had to kill Maple. Maple broke her fucking leg, and they're gone.
We're having Maple for lunch on Thursday, so that's it.
Obviously, I don't curse in front of the kids, but you can hear like sometimes the exasperation of my voice when I'm talking to them is worse than a curse. Okay, so what? All right, what else do you what else do you like to do? You run hella miles. You're into Phish.
Oh no, I grew up as like a nerd. I like a bunch of geek stuff. I mean, that was how we got into like timing and whatnot. And then I mean, I don't know, like I was saying, we started taking kung fu with my kids, which is pretty awesome. They're friggin' rad. They were like, I don't know, they like I said, like it's wild, like giving I think like to me, like giving the kids that ability to be able to like kick your parents' ass is wild. Like they do it all the time, and they're little girls, so like you have that whole like you want to give them the self-defense stuff and whatnot, but It's so much
Mm.
cooler than that. Like watching my little kids like get feisty about like beating somebody up or doing something better than that. It's pretty cool to watch them and like in a nice, healthy way, being competitive. It's pretty cool.
How old are
Yeah.
they then?
So I've got 18 who is actually going to college in Albany in September or soon this month, and then 10 and 8
Okay.
for the other
The
two.
reason I was asking you the younger ones is because
Yeah.
I have two kids who did like went through 2 levels of black belt in Taekwondo, and at the beginning they were like, "Dad, you should do it with us," and then
Yeah.
like 2 years later they're like, "Don't even think of doing it with us. That would be so embarrassing." So it's all the right age, you know. It just depends.
Yeah, well, it's you know what it is there. It's wild. So like I was saying, like I grew up a nerd, but like somewhere along the line, I guess like I don't know, man. Like I think I got a girlfriend before all the other nerds, and like I don't know. I felt like I was cooler. So I don't know. So I and also like I just couldn't get into like World of Warcraft and D&D. Like I just couldn't do it. Like I wanted to go do things. Like so like my world is that like LARPing is cooler than Dungeons and Dragons. Like where for most people they're like, wait, you're rather like dress up and go play. I'm like, yeah, but at least I'm like doing shit, right? Like
Dude,
I'm not just sitting
ultra
there.
running's a form. Ultra running's a form of LARPing, dude.
Pretty
Oh yeah,
much
definitely. A
just
lot of
chase
times.
each other around.
And if
So
anyone,
like
that's live action role playing for those who don't know.
a bunch of people like Googling LARPing, like what the fuck? Um,
No, I love
so
that. No, but I love that you got to a certain age and you were like, all right, my limit is World of Warcraft. You're like, I like girls. I'm gonna keep it under this limit here.
I guess, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't
get
know
it.
what it was, but I couldn't do it. But a lot of the people that are in Kung Fu, I guess, like, got to the same place that I got, but didn't get rid of that. Like, they just found it
Mm,
later. So, like, they're all cool. So they know, like, a lot of that stuff, and it's cool to have those conversations, but also, like, they're like, yeah, like, we're going to go get a beer, and then I'm going to go home to my wife. Like, not, like,
yeah.
it's not this all encompassing, like, we have to stay here, and I'm going to bring in my cards next week and show you all of them.
Yeah. You're right. I was ridiculously into the Boy Scouts, and then
Mhm.
girls came along, and I was like, well, how do I
Later.
join the Girl Scouts?
Same. I was like, this is stupid.
Oh, fuck. I'm awful. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. I'm sorry. Art, edit that shit out. Uh, oh no,
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, but I mean, like, yeah, I play Dungeons and Dragons and kind of shit like that, but like,
Yeah.
I guess you're right. Like, you get to a point where you're like, I kind of just I'm gonna do this thing now, whatever, and like your nerdy friends you kind of leave behind or whatever, like,
Yeah. I mean, and I still try
I
to
stayed
hang
friends
out
with
with
all
them.
my
But
nerdy friends though. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and we're all cool, and we did that stuff. But it just, like I said, it was just different for me. I don't know what it was. It was just I wasn't there, and now like the folks that we met through that stuff is kind of all that. And one of my daughters is a pretty big nerd, so like getting her into all that stuff and
Yeah.
like she likes it. But it's fun.
Isn't it great when your kid just rattles off some random fact that you're like, how the hell do you know that? Or my kid's like,
They do it
oh,
all the fucking time.
A Bugatti Veyron is 285 horsepower and has a top speed of 270. And I'm like, how do you know that? You're 8, dude. What do you know about cars? I drive a Honda CRV, my guy. What the?
My kids rattle off some weird ass shit every once in a while too, and I'm like, wait, what? I'm like doing
You're like,
something.
wait a
I
minute,
forget what it
how do you-
was. Like we were talking about like turkeys or something, and they were talking about how like wild turkeys can fly. And I was like, okay. And they were like, they're the biggest land animal that could fly. And I'm like, what? Like, and it was just like, it was like that scene out of, what is it? The human head weighs 8 pounds. The hell movie was that? Oh man, Tom
I
Cruise
don't
in
know.
it,
I'm
right? Jerry Maguire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you're bringing it back, bro.
That was me, man. It was old.
Yeah, no, I like, yeah, you just like look at your kids and you're like, how do you know so much about turkeys?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, wait, did you say you grew up on Long Island too, or?
Yeah. So I was born in Queens and then grew up on Long Island, and it sucked. It was terrible.
Sounds
You know,
good.
It's just I don't know. I mean, not that I like shit talking too much, right? But like, it's just a different vibe down there. It's just a very selfish. I don't know even know how to explain it. Like, it's just like, this is mine, and this is I'm here, and you can't interfere with here. And it's just very, I don't know. It's just I get fucking anxiety and like chest pains when I go
Yeah.
down there now. Like, it's terrible.
I heard Nassau just passed a law that you're not allowed to wear a mask.
I read that it's like I think it's more than that. It's less than that. Like, you're allowed to wear a mask, but now they can prosecute you if you wear a mask with ill intent, right? So like, obviously, if you wear a mask to go into a store to hide your face, that's illegal now. But like, how are they going to prove intention? Like, that's the bigger
It seems like a
problem
ridiculous
behind it.
law. Yeah.
It's just showboating. It's just
Yeah.
because there's, November's coming up, and they have turned into a really, really, really red area. And that whole side of, the whatever you feel about COVID or not COVID. I mean, I know you had it, so it's very real. But like, the people who believe it's all bullshit, they're, supported there, and it's just a way to get. I mean, there's so much other shit that NASA needs, like, so much other shit. Like, they could do anything else besides that, and it would have been
there's actually
an
important
improvement.
things to consider, right? Not that.
Right. So,
Long Island. Yeah, I mean, that's like all those emo bands came out of Long Island, right? I mean,
a bunch of them did.
There was a lot of sad kids, man. A lot of sad kids in North Jersey and Long Island.
Yeah, there was a fucking band that I wanted to go see, and I bought tickets for it. They were around when I was a kid, and it was the band called Inside, and they had a reunion, and it sucked that I missed it. I was pissed.
Yeah. Wait, a hardcore band?
No, they were an emo band. I mean, they were hardcore-ish.
Okay.
They were, but it was like way at the beginning of emo, before emo like took off, and like talking about like, like Brand New and Taking Back Sunday and Bayside and like all that kind of, like mainstream emo. I went
to a couple Warp tours back in like 2004, 2005. So yes, I know all those fucking bands.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I think I've talked about this with Thad. I think because Thad knows all, like, Saves the Day and all the North Jersey ones. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a really cool venue called, it was spelt with a PH too, and it was called Da Funky Fish, DA, like the Funky Fish. And it was friggin' wild. There was a bunch of bands that played there early on, and it was really cool. And then that guy he gave up. He didn't give a shit. The place went to crap. It was that place that you knew you could go into in like 16 and order a beer, and you're like, yeah, it's fine.
Oh yeah, those are the best places on earth, man.
Oh, it was awesome. When smoking became illegal in bars, I was in a band at the time, and people would smoke all the time, but you couldn't smoke cigarettes. You could smoke weed in there, but you couldn't smoke cigarettes in there because there was a law against cigarettes, but not weed. And then there was a pool table in the back that, if you played that pool table, you knew what you were doing. You were awesome. But if you went to a regular pool table, you couldn't shoot for shit, because this thing was so warped and messed up. But it was the pool table that was back there. And like, you had to have these little tricks to do it. And it was, everybody loved it.
Every town, if you knew the right people, you don't even have to know the right people, but every town had a bar like that, dude.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
That bar for me was on Brookline Boulevard, and they had shuffleboard. Remember shuffleboard?
Yeah.
Like the tabletop one. Oh, dude, I could taste the sawdust. Yeah.
Did you ever play the one that had like the bowling pins on it too?
That's what I'm saying. They would have the ones up top, and then they would like kind of go over. They had like the slots.
Yeah, that little like metal
and
piece.
That's what it was like. We would play that, and we would just sit and like, we figured out that there was like a button underneath that you could just get for free credits. We never put money in it. Like,
that's great.
Okay. Yeah, I remember being like 17 years old in a bar. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna order like whiskey on the rocks and shit. Like, oh my god, good times.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I would say, dude, Long Island. It's like one big long suburb, right? Like,
not really. I mean, it's kind of hard because like people don't realize that like Brooklyn is technically part of Long Island. So like Brooklyn, Queens,
Mhm.
and then you get into Nassau and Suffolk. So it's all on the same body. So really, if you think of Montauk and then think of Brooklyn and then literally
Mm.
just put them on opposite ends of a spectrum, and it's just if you as you drive from one to the other, it just gets less like the other. That's all. Like
Okay.
it's. I mean, it really is like the closer to you are to Montauk, the more it's like that, and a little less like Brooklyn. It's all
Mhm.
people aren't that close to each other as you get further out east, but they're not that far either.
Yeah.
And it's just like I said, it's just so I don't know. It's one of those things where I kind of feel like, and I know this sounds like I don't know, whatever. I like I feel like why tear down more of those trees just to build another one house? Like, is it that big of a fucking deal to put
Mm.
one more group of people on that block? And it I don't know. I wish there was more like calmness down there, but there just isn't.
I felt like the area where the Tesla Hertz race is,
Hmm.
it's pretty empty. Like not like that
Yeah,
road's pretty busy, but like there's a lot of woodsy space there.
yeah, so that's literally like that's why that race is there. It's in the Pine Barrens, right? So there's really not much else. If you go south of that aid station, it gets a little busier. You start crossing like bigger things. And then that road 25A that you're on is a pretty main drag. But the cool thing about Tesla and one of the things that we absolutely like love about it, and I think the reason why it's so I don't know. It's really unique because people come there and are like, "Hey, this is gonna be this like flat, easy run on Long Island," and it's not. And you're in the middle of the woods, and you're like, "Oh, it's Long Island, so there's gonna be shit around," and there isn't because you just cross a road twice. Other than that, you're constantly in the woods,
Yeah, there's
and
nothing. Yeah.
yeah, and you're one of the big main stretches where you would be close to stuff. It's a high school, so it's closed on the weekend unless they have like homecoming or something. And if they do that, it's only for a couple hours, so you might not even
Mm.
see that whole shit that happens over there in your loop. So it's really it definitely is unique, and it has a really odd. It's a really different experience than typical Long Island, so it's really cool.
And you would think it was easy, but it's not. And you would
Nope.
think it was flat, but the trails are really not straight. They wind a lot. So you
Yeah.
like if someone's 50 feet in front of you, it's unlikely that you'll be able to see them.
Oh yeah.
So it just keeps turning, and
Yep.
the surface is kind of sandy.
Yeah.
So the two times I've been there, it rained, but it drained right away when it stopped raining
Yep.
because it was so sandy. And there's a pretty high drop rate at that race, right?
Yeah, well, so there's a couple of things with that. One, we don't. It's like the one thing. It's the one like quote unquote shitty or dickish rule that we have. Like whatever you start, you have to finish. That's it. So you can start and you can change your mind up till that morning. We'll let you start whatever you want. But if you toe the line for the 100 mile, you're a DNF if you don't finish 10 laps,
I
no
like
matter
that.
what.
I like that.
Yeah, and
I
we
like
only
that.
do that
I think
because
also.
like we'll do it. We'll do anything you need. Like Nicole has literally gone out and paced people before. We've had volunteers go and run a full 30 miles with people because they were scared of the dark. We've given our bottles, our packs. I've given, clothes to people. We've gotten food because there's a supermarket right across the street. So we've went out and gotten food for people that they've requested and done things for people, giving people rides, like all sorts of shit. So the only reason you can't finish that is because you don't want to or you're hurt. That's it. And I personally feel like if you start in the morning and you say you're going to run 50 miles or 100 miles or whatever it is, that should be what you do. And it's cool that you don't run it, but I don't think you've earned a medal for it. So,
I agree. I think ultras are about intention. There's so many people who are like, oh, I ran my first ultra by accident. I'm like, you didn't run an ultra. I'm like, what'd you do? They're like, oh, I took a wrong turn. I was doing like a 22-mile training run, but I took a wrong turn and it ended up being
yep.
like 27. And I'm like, that was your intention was not to do that. So no, you're not. That's not an ultra. I got to take that back from you. I'm sorry. No, that's not an
I'm
ultra.
taking it
Like
back.
if you're like, I'm going to do a 26.3-mile run on fucking
Hmm.
purpose today, that's
Right.
an ultra because your intention,
I
your
could see
intention was
that.
to go past. Yeah. So I think it's all about intention. So if you set an
Yeah.
intention, and you don't stick to it, that's not
Yeah.
ultra.
I can
Do you
see
even
that.
I'm like, also, do you have a beard and a trucker hat? Like, no, sorry, you're not ultra.
The first time
Are
I
you
really
are you
ran
in the craft IP? Are you in the craft IPAs? And now it's like cool to be sober. So people are like, oh, I don't even drink. Like,
the first time I ran into
oh yeah.
the intention rule was 2008 out at Headlands 100.
Yeah.
Wendell was there, and he's like given the little, it's a 50 and 100, and he's like,
Yeah.
you can run a 50 or you can run the 100. You got to tell me now.
Yeah.
There's no moving up to 100 if 50 is your race, and there's no moving down to 50 if 100 is your race. You
I can see
can't
that.
be like, I don't feel good, I'm going to stop at 50. That's a DNF.
Yeah. We this year, no, like 2 years ago, we started handing out DNF poker chips, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I
I
used to
remember
have
that.
one up here
You
somewhere.
were passing the chips out
Yeah.
in 2022.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, I don't want one of those.
Because I felt bad, like, here you are, you run this race and you don't get shit like that. I get that. Like, it kind of sucks. Thought I had one around here. So we get this little poker chip that has the Tesla logo on it, and then it looks like it's got a stamp that says DNF across it. And that's cool. And we had this idea of like putting the amount of laps that you got on them. So like making ones that like a bunch of them that say 10.48 and then a bunch of them that, just go all the way up and let them, pick the one from there. But that's just work. So we didn't do that yet.
I think first of all, I think the Tesla's an awesome race. So
yeah,
I did it in 2015 and 2022. But now that it's got the 150,
yeah,
if you want to do 100 and you're patient, you can do 100 miles there.
Absolutely.
You have, what is it, like 51 hours or something? 54 hours.
Yeah. It's like a couple minutes shy of 54 because we start the 100-mile a little after the 150. So
okay.
Yeah, but you have 54 hours to finish the 150. So yeah, there's no reason.
Right.
But this year might actually, or probably will be the last year that this configuration. The 150 takes a lot, and it's not picking up the way we kind of hoped it would. So what we might actually do is change the hours of it. So we're working with the guys there, and we might actually start the 150 on Friday night.
Right.
And then still go to a little bit earlier or a little bit later on Sunday, but not have it ride into Monday as well.
Right. Well, less of a drag for you probably, right?
I mean, we're there, and like it's the kind of the same thing, and like just hanging out on Friday night won't be that bad. And if we've only got to check in 20 or 30 people doing the 150, it's a little bit easier. It's the hard thing is going to be keeping all those people out that want to set up camp for the 100 on until Saturday morning, because
right.
I don't know if you remember what that place looked like, but man, that place gets packed now. It's wild.
Yeah, it's actually the first year that I did it, there were not nearly as many people, right? In 2015. And I told this story before, but like I get there with like 45 minutes before the race, and I didn't realize I'm sure it was in the stuff online, but I didn't realize that it was going to just take me so long to get my stuff from my car to the starting line down that concrete, like entry road kind of thing. Yeah. And I ended up not getting it all there. And I was like, all right, I got to start. I was late starting anyway. Like the people had already taken off. I'm like, all right, I got to go. I'll just get later. And Vin went and got my stuff and dragged it to the start finish. So it was there when I finished the first loop. So thank you again.
Of course.
But the second time I did it in 2022, there were a lot of like pop-up tents there, and like it was really quite a village. It was like
So Jimmy, to kind of paint a picture, the race starts. So the field that it was used, or the area that it's used, is Pine Barrens now, but it was purchased from I think it's from the Navy or something like that by New York State. And what it was it was an old RCA field where they would relay radio signals from the water. The Navy would relay them into Manhattan. And then with the onset of like better communications and all that stuff, they just were like, we don't need this shit anymore. And just were like, here, it's yours. And sold it to the state. I think it's somewhere like online on Wikipedia, but it's like $5 or like something ridiculous.
Wow.
And I think New York State basically just left a lot of it there and like got rid of some of it and left a bunch of it. So there's like these big concrete bases that are just out there scattered, like covered in shit. Behind the start line, you guys don't ever see it, but behind the start line is this old foundation that's just got these weird gears and stuff in it. The area that we're in is a parking lot. Like Phred, I don't even know if you noticed that, but like when you when you finish and then you make that left, you finish your loop and then like the aid station is right in front of you, make that left. All over there, that people used to park there. There's all like parking spots.
Really?
There's those like long concrete faces that like to show you where to stop. There's a bunch of them over there, and it's all just this like stuff that's just forgotten about kind of, and it's really wild. But Jimmy, there's this like quarter mile ish walk, maybe a little bit longer. I really should clock it once, but you just got to walk all the way in there into the aid station, and then once you're in there, there's you're just there for the weekend, which is nice.
Your little villages, yeah,
and people just pop up. There's not a lot of space, but it gets filled, and it's really cool.
And you're not going to go back to your car. You're not going to go back to your car during the race because it's a quarter mile walk to your car. So you got to just drag all your stuff, whatever you want, bring it in there like a chair or your like supplies, and then that you stage it from there.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Huh. Okay.
Nice race. It's also it's got some weird like topographical features. There's places where you're running and like it looks like there's like kind of like a little ridge, like I don't know, like bulldozers have like put it up or something, and then you see the big concrete base that probably had some like big satellite dish thing there or something. It's kind of interesting. And then there's the hill.
All right, I'm gonna have to get out here one of these years.
You gotta do this
out.
Yeah, that's man, cool. For sure. Come out.
Yeah.
And then there's the glowing spiders too.
Is that hill like man-made?
Oh, I'm pretty sure
it's got to be, right?
Yeah, there's a bunch of like there's a bunch of mountain bike stuff back there too. So I don't know what else has been done. I know that part I think is part of a fire road. So all those fire roads, and the year I think in 2015 when you ran it, there was or I don't know, one of the years, whatever, they redid all the fire roads recently. But when they did those, they mapped out that whole area so that way, like, they can get into them really fast. And so there's like these markers that are on trees. And if you know that tree, they can get to any one of those markers in less than like 7 minutes or something. It's pretty cool.
Oh, all right. Oh, yeah. I remember like in 22, I saw the markers. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw a lot of like because I threw my back out near the end of that, and that last loop took me forever. It took me like 4 hours the last loop. And
we had like 8 people being like, "There's a guy back there. He's really hurt." And then once I found out it was you, I'm like, "Ah, great, he's fine."
Yeah, I was gonna finish it.
Like, unless he says like, "Come, I'm fucked. Come help me." Like, he's fine. He'll figure it out.
Yeah. But that I feel like in 2015, the hill, there's Jimmy, it's like, it rolls and it's sandy. It's sort of like got the same soil as like Cape Cod or the Pine Barrens in South Jersey, like that, like underbrush and then like sand underneath it. But but then there's this hill that's like, I don't know, like 75 feet high, maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and like so you're on this relatively flat area, and then this hill like just goes straight up. Then you're on top, like the top of the hill is not that big, and then it goes like straight down the other side. And I felt like in 2015 it was more runnable on the downhill side.
I think so.
But now, like the last time I did it, the downhill side was like all beat up. I like had a tiptoe down there basically.
Yeah, and when you run down it too, it's like running down like just like sand. There's no you can't get good footing. You can't enjoy the run down there. Like it is annoying. And I'm sure it's like one of those things that like you hit on the first couple of loops and you're like, whatever. But then like your 10th loop, you're like, this thing fucking sucks.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I can confirm.
Would you have to like dump your shoes out like marathon to Saab? Like do you need like gaiters and shit? Like is it crazy like that?
Gators would not be a bad idea. There are some very sandy parts of the trail. That the out and back part is really
I hate gators. I tried wearing gaiters like 1 year and I was like, you know what, dude? Like when shit gets in your shoes, it's harder to get it out because then you have to like do the whole
Yep.
dude. Yeah. pain in the
Yep,
ass.
I couldn't get with Gators because if you run in anything other than like ultras, you've got to put that friggin' Velcro thing on the back, and like I just don't understand why there's not a better system yet. The thing underneath
Yeah.
breaks constantly. Like
Yeah.
I
The
think that's
underneath
like
doesn't work, and the thing on the back, you stick it on and it'll pull off eventually,
yeah,
and shit gets in your shoe anyway. Yeah.
yep.
I still have a pair. I have some Dirty Girls. I have tie-dye blue ones
There
from
you
Dirty
go.
Girl that are
I've got
that I
the
think I got
lime
back. I think I've
Gatorade
worn back
Hurl
and
from the original way
I
back.
you know when I knew that I hated them and I think I stopped wearing them was I did World's End and it was so muddy and so much shit like still ended up down inside. I
Oh
got really
yeah,
skinny ankles. Like I'm a very slight person. So a lot of shit and like I remember like sitting on a rock like having to undo them. Like I was like scraping them out. I was like, damn, there's so much shit in here. I'm like, these gators are fucking useless. So I think I took them off. I don't think I finished the race with them.
yeah.
And I don't think I wore them again. Maybe I wore them at like I think I did like Bimblers or Nipmuc or something later that year, and I might have worn them, but I was like, no, I don't think I wore them at Nipmuc, like whatever. Anyway, yeah, fucking Gators.
I think they're like I think they are. I think they're more for like looser dirt and shit. Like I think they would just
Yeah,
suck on mud. I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
Yeah, not at all.
yeah.
Not even a
I used
little
to wear
bit.
I used to wear compression. I used to wear compression socks too. So
Oh, you got in on all the cool trends, huh?
Yeah. Oh,
oh
I
man,
had
I
Injinjis
first
back
pair
when they first came out. I got a ton of
I
blisters with
hate I could
Injinjis.
not get those on. Do you ever have a hard time getting them on or
Oh yeah, yeah.
The
I
I
just
toe
just
socks
recently
themselves or the like compression part too.
I
no
don't know.
the
They were
Injinjis,
compression
whatever, yeah.
based, so I don't know. They
Yeah,
were like not all the way up to my knee or anything.
right.
I was just thinking about this. We have had so many bee stingings at camp this summer or whatever that I stepped on a nest in a 50K and pressure and like legit you could see like the stingers but not the bee like the bee's guts coming out and like into the compression side. I got stung like 9 times in a 50K once. Like within this yeah, like we all got swarmed. A bunch of us got stung. There
That
was like an
sucks.
underground nest, whatever. And then they had
Yeah,
to come out and like fumigate it like during the race or whatever. They had like fucking yellow tape and shit around it. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
I got fucked up by that. Like, yeah. I remember when I finally took the compression socks off, I had all these like welts from the bee stings, and then they swell up after I took the like 4 hours later after I took the compression socks off. Like
Huh.
I
That's
bought
kind of
into every
cool.
trend. I've tried every weird diet, every fucking weird clothing thing.
Yeah.
Like I
Hey,
wore
it worked.
Innovates for my first ultra.
Oh yeah, I
Have
used to
you
have Innovates. I tried those.
have
Got
you
them
gotten into
from
the
Zombie Runner. I bought them from Zombie
Yeah.
Runner.
Oh man, I
Yeah,
miss
Zombie
Zombie
Runner.
Runner.
Nice.
Yeah, back in the
Where was that?
day.
Where was that? Like in San Mateo. That was out where I was living out that way. Was
Yeah.
that out there?
Yeah, they're actually in uh where Stanford is.
Oh, Palo Alto.
Palo Alto. Yes. And now, they're
All right.
still there. They're just a coffee shop now.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Wait, is
It's
it called Zombie
Nice.
Runner Coffee Shop?
I believe it's called Zombie Runner Coffee.
Shut up.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
you
All
can
right, well
find it
now
That's
I gotta go
awesome.
to
on the
that.
interwebs. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
But
true.
I was always ordering shit from Zombie Runner. Hell's
Yeah,
yeah.
it was amazing.
That's how you know you're like old. I guess wait, is that like the Dilly? Like if you guys know what Zombie Runner is, then you're like old school ultra.
Oh yeah.
If
I
if you
still have a
had
Zombie
like
Runner hat. That was one of
that's
the
what I was
best.
gonna say, if you had that white
Remember
Zombie Runner hat,
it's the purple
Yeah.
sticker, right? They give you a purple sticker with everything, right? It's that purple
Yep.
sticker.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, that site was dope, man. That site had everything. It was awesome.
Yeah.
They were very plugged into the community too. Like
Were
Don
they?
and Julian would go out to Badwater every year and
Yeah,
like sort of be like a roving crew and blister group
that's
and
awesome.
everything. And yeah, they were.
Dude, that's the kind of shit that and all right, now I'm gonna get heated. That's the kind of stuff that pisses me off about where ultra running is now, right? Like, and that's the part of like, and whatever, like that's the thing that I don't want to see ultra sign up and UTMB and all that stuff just take and just make different. Like that's where I get hurt when I see all this stuff happening. Not the fact that there's races and not the fact that the races are expensive, but there's not places like Zombie Runner, right? Like it's always
Yeah.
like this big ad and this thing and then the people don't give a shit. Like that's all like just fucking care. Like just be somebody who's in the community, care about the community and do stuff for the community and it'll be better. But when they're out there just got a bunch of freaking lawyers that own Ultra Sign Up now, and whoever's on the feed just trying to make a buck, and it just can't hurt anybody from making $1, but it just sucks to watch something that helped me and like I cared about and was passionate about, and then turn into just $2,000 race tickets.
Dude, thank you. I remember when we had on a couple of years ago, we had on Finn Melanson, and he was like, I want to make Olympic, I want to have like a governing body and like professionalize the sport and have it like an Olympic, whatever. And I remember thinking like, no, I don't want that. Like, I love that this sport is fucking weird, dude. Like, like I love that my friends like drink beer. Like I hear like, I don't drink, but like my friends like will like drink fireballs during races and shit. I'm like, that's cool. And like people smoke weed. People like what I love that this is a fucking collection of freaks. Like, and I love people who like take this sport seriously, because I'm always like, chill out with the fucking spandex and fucking trying to match your splits. Just fucking have an experience. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we all went through a phase, I guess, where we were like, I don't know, I was insufferable about like, oh, I want to run these times. I got to, and the whole like chasing the Western States qualifier, like this sport, like I love that it can be super fucking simple, and I love that it can be really weird, but like, I don't want a governing body. I don't want like drug testing and shit. Like, I don't care about UTMB anymore. I don't care about Western States and the golden ticket races. Like, I want to see what my friends are doing on I want to lurk Strava and see what my homies are doing, and like see what I have a bunch of people favorited, so I can see what they're fucking doing, because they do cool shit. Like, and these are people I know, people I run with, and people I admire, and that's like what, and I guess, but there was a time in my life, going back to like 2016, I was just like, following the sport. I knew everyone's names, and like I knew everyone, the top 10 dudes for Western States. Like, and now I don't know who any of these fucking people are. Like, I have no idea. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I watched an hour and a half of Western States this year, and I thought it was awesome, because I knew who Walmsley was, and like I didn't know who anyone was, and it was cool. And now they got professional crewing companies. People will come crew you for like $1,000. Dude.
Yeah.
Like, what? Why?
How awful is that? I'd like people to understand how crewing is really not all that. Like when you go run like something like the Vermont 100, you'll probably do better without a crew. They've got so much support there. Like your crew is really going to make you feel guilty for going off down the road. And if you don't have a crew, you'll go into an aid station, get the hell out of the aid station. When if you have a crew, a lot of times it's like, well, what do you need? And you're like, oh, you came all the way up to Vermont for me. Now I have to give you 10 minutes of my time. Next thing you know, you've wasted like 2 hours, So
Nicole's the only one who crews for me for the most part. What's that?
That's it. That needed to be Fred. What Fred just said, that needed to be said, because it's like I remember talking to Art. We were talking, and I put a race on. I put a 12-hour race on at Brooksvale Park over here in Hamden, and Art was like, "Hey, I want to talk about like the future of the cut and like what's going to happen." I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but Art can edit it out. I don't give a fuck. But I was like, Art, you got to start. I was like, you got to start vetting people better. Like, you let everybody. People were putting them shit up on Facebook. They had like 9 people crews and shit. I was like, no, the cut's done. I remember thinking this year, I was like, the cut's done. There can't be a cut anymore, because everybody and their mother wants to fucking crew everybody and pace and I'm like, if it's, bring it back to it needs to be like not a thing anymore. And you want to go do it on your own. Pick your fucking 3 or 4 best friends that will tolerate you for 36 to 48 hours or whatever, and fucking go do it on a random Saturday in fucking September. Like, because it's fucking done. It can't be a thing anymore, because the people are bringing, it's like a fucking there was no parking at the start. There was no parking at a bunch of trailheads. And
because
like I went
entourages, right? Entourages will descend on them.
It becomes, it's not even a crew, it becomes entourages. And that shit, it can't, Connecticut is a tiny fucking state. Nobody knows who we are or what we're doing here. And that's how we want to fucking keep it. All right. So seriously, like, get the fuck out of Connecticut.
People don't even know we're a state. They just think we're part of Boston.
No, these are all Connecticut. It's funny, because these are all Connecticut people. These are all Connecticut people I'm admonishing, whatever. And it's like, but I'm guilty of it too, because I drove by like the reservoir stop. I like texted Bessick and I was like, where's he was crewing Will Har, and I was like, where's Will right now? He's like, we just went through the reservoir. I was like, all right, cool. And I remember driving by and I'm like, fuck, I can't get a spot in there anyway. So then I went to the next one, and I think it was whatever the aid station was, the Prattling Pond. I was like, oh, I can't park there because there's no, and I was like, then I went to the colonoscopy place and I hung out with Bill Gibbs for an hour, and we had missed the first 3 guys that came. And I remember being like, and I think I said to Bill, I was like, there's no parking at the other 2 places. He's like, ah, shit. And I'm like, yeah, I think the cut's done. Like, this is going to be crazy tonight, I guess, when everyone comes through here. And luckily it's like a private business and nobody's there on the weekends because it's a fucking colonoscopy place. But like, I, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I hope people are listening
Colonoscopy
to
on a
this being
Sunday?
like,
That's right out.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna go get my butthole checked on a Friday night. Let's go.
Then like at dawn on Saturday morning, they start the 50-miler in a closed liquor store parking lot
Yeah.
on the Berlin Turnpike. So they're like, all right, nobody's going to be here. It's 5 a.m. on a Saturday. So,
But that's, I mean, and I think like that's the stuff that sucks, right? I mean, you could do like the thing like Vermont, like you get one crew car and it's got to be tagged and yeah. I think like with me, what's that?
I was gonna say Art Byram is such a lovely person. I think he just wants to give to all the people in Connecticut. But like I always try to tell Art, like, hey, dude, not all gifts are meant for every person. Like, you know what I mean? You can keep some of those for yourself, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? Because there's like, as an RD or as like, you know, a fellow runner or whatever it is, you want to do something and you want to treat them the way you would want to treat them, right? Like, you know, we had a woman email us a while ago saying that, you know, like she wanted to know if she could reserve the price of, I forget, whatever race now instead of waiting until signing up because she doesn't have money and she, you know, just wanted to pay that price. Like, was there a way to do it? I'm like, here's our Venmo. Just Venmo us some money when you can, and here's your code. So we gave her the code. We had another guy this time ask me, he was just like, are there any discount codes for your race? No. Like, so I think it's like the intention of what you're doing, right? Like, if you're trying and you're giving a shit and you're cool and you're fine and you're like, hey man, like I hear that these races aren't cheap and you want to do a couple of them. Gear isn't cheap anymore. Shoes aren't cheap anymore. None of this stuff is that cheap. So like you want to do that stuff, but there is a fucking limit to it. Like, and I think that's where like that crew size needs to be checked. Like, yeah, I understand that like to you and your close family, running 100 miles is fucking crazy and weird and nobody ever does that. But in the community, we all are doing it today at this race. Like that's why we're all fucking here. So like we can't have 30 of you chasing each other around because then it would just be this massive friggin' thing. So like you've got to back up a little bit. And I don't know how to do that. Like it's hard.
I was looking because I just Googled it, or I looked it up like a little when we were talking about, you know, back when I first got on in 2012, when I first started researching. I did my first trail race in 2011 and I found out about 100 milers and I started researching what I was going to do. What my first ultra was going to be in 2012 and all that stuff. But Stan had the schedule. He had like every North American ultra, you know, distance. He had I think he had sorted by like distance. He had all the 100 milers, when they were, what the elevation gain was, the DNF rates. Like he had all the statistics right on the homepage there. And I remember like, I just thought it was so cool. I just remember thinking like, this is a hard thing to do. Like, I want to treat this right. I want to treat this with respect. You know, and that I knew it was going to be like a somewhat like solitary thing. Like I could somehow bring friends, like what I would make friends. Like I didn't have any thought like that, but I just knew like, oh, cool. It like sounds like the training is like you're out in the woods for like hours on the weekends and stuff like that. But I think the point that I was going to try to make was that like, it's okay to like not hang out with your friends and family like every fucking day. Like you can go do this thing, you know what I mean? Like, and I think, you know, getting back to the whole like crew, how sort of the whole like I think ultra running is very inclusive. Like we'll take everyone. We're the island of misfit toys, but there also needs to be like kind of like a hey, okay, this guy, you know, like we've got too many people parking at the trailhead. Now we've got too many, you know, things like that, whatever. How do you appropriately vet people? Like who, you know, does everybody deserve the chance to start? Because I would, you know, I think, or do just people who you think are going to finish? So there's that weird gray area in there too. So I don't know what.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, that was one of the other things was like, so like when I started, you couldn't run 100 miles. You couldn't sign up for most 100-mile races without some sort of qualifier, like some sort of like I ran 50 miles before or whatever. And I don't think that's there a lot anymore. And Nicole and I have talked about like we need to do something because there are people who are out there just doing dumb shit. And it wasn't one of our races, but I was working another race and this guy came flying into the aid station and I do what I normally do. And I'm like, hey, you want me to fill your bottles up for you or whatever? What do you need? And he's like, no, I don't have a bottle. And I was like, well, you've got a vest on. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, what? Where are you? You got a bladder? Let me take the bladder. And he's like, no, there's nothing in here. I'm like, you, what? Why? So this dude was legit running around with the Solomon vest on with nothing in it. So like, what? Like it was just, I was like, did you think that was the uniform? Like, I don't know what to say. I mean, and we hooked him up, like we got him a bottle and we got him some other stuff. But like, that's like, if that shit's happening right now, like we all need to just like pause and have a discussion and like just be like, hey, look, these are the things like, I don't know, like an intro to ultra running, or like there needs to be like some qualifiers or something before you're allowed in. But then if you say some shit like that, then you're gatekeeping and you're an asshole and you're insensitive and so like I don't know. I just want it to be cool and I want people to be cool. That's it. I don't.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if Vermont still does it, but I know in Umstead, if you want to sign up, they're like, have you run 50 miles before?
Yeah,
And,
I think they
and
do.
where, like tell us what race you've done 50 miles in to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
The
though
other thing that we do that I stole from Vermont was whatchamacallit, trail maintenance for our 50K on Long Island.
Love that.
You have to either donate $20 or you can do 2 hours worth of volunteering or trail maintenance, and we prefer it to be on that trail, but it can be wherever. And I think that's
Vermont used to have
important.
an 6 or 8 hour requirement.
Yeah.
That's how I started volunteering at Warmog.
Yeah.
To enter Vermont. Then I just started volunteering there every year.
I mean, that's the best way. I hate that. I feel like I don't know, man. Again, lately, have you noticed, or do you have what's your incentive to get volunteers? It's like I usually try to give people a free race entry where I'm like, come.
Yeah, we have on our website. There's a volunteer page, and you can look at it. There's like a point system. I forget what we came up with, but we kind of stole that from like New Jersey Trail Series used to have like for every 4 hours you got 1 point, and then all of their races had a point system, had a point value to it, and that was kind of what we did. And you do the same, and you can get either if you got 1 point, we'll give you X whatever percentage off that comes out to or whatever. But
I think the guys out in California, like Wendell, who Fred mentioned earlier, Wendell and Tim Staler, who used to own Inside Trail, those dudes used to if you do like 4 hours at a race, so like they'll give you like a free, like basically I think a free like 50K or something like they would like they'll give you credit, whatever, and like and it was like, so that's like I try to do, but I talked to like some other race directors who are like, no, I don't do that, and I'm always like, really? And I'm like, how do you get volunteers? I'm like, oh, I'm part of like a running club, and I'm like, oh, so you just fucking strong arm them into coming to volunteer?
Yes. Yeah.
You're part of the running club. I'm like, fuck, how do I get hooked up with a running club? Should I just make a fake running club up? Like,
there you go.
But no, I've noticed I feel like it's been a little bit tougher to get volunteers, but I like that you have that incentive. Like it's either $20 or this is what you're doing. And I have the turkey trot I put on. I moved a week. I'm moving it before Thanksgiving now. Because I want to make it a food drive. So I reached out to the Hamden Food Bank and was like, yo, I'm going to bring you guys a ton of food like that week. And they were like, fucking thank you. And I was like, every single person that comes got to bring something, box, can, something. And it's like,
that's awesome. I think that's what,
let's go.
Yeah. I think that's what we need, right? Like we just need more people doing cool shit. And I think that like top end, right? Like Western States and UTMB and all that stuff. I think it'll be fine. Right. But I think like what that stuff is going to do is it's always going to live at the top. And what you're going to have to happen is there's going to have to be people lower than that do that kind of stuff. Right. I mean, I think it's just going to be unfortunate because and not to shit on anybody. Right. But I don't think like UTMB isn't going to do that. Candace.
They're like $1 million corporations now, dude. They don't care. They're $1 million corporations, right? Like Lifetime Fitness, who does, Leadville and UTMB, whatever the hell they're called, the competitor or whatever, Ironman, like, they don't give a shit. No,
No, not at all.
They've got shareholders and a board of directors. They don't give a fuck about us, dude. Like,
No,
yeah.
but like that sucks too. Like I worked with UTMB for a little while and I did that stuff, and right before the whole stuff with Gary Robbins came out, I was actually gonna like go on staff with them because they were cool. They needed somebody in our region to kind of like be, I don't know, something, right? Like, to stop stuff. And I was like, that'd be awesome, man. I would love to come aboard and like, and not, and like kind of like push things and steer things in the right direction. And the guys that I spoke to, cool as shit, like awesome people. And then I got home and I read all the stuff that happened because it literally happened like the week after Big Bear. And that was where I was. I went out to Big Bear because I know the RDs from there. And that was just a shit show.
Yeah.
After that. But
Jimmy worked for some bougie company for a while, right? Didn't you? Were you putting on like some really high-end stuff?
I worked for an international adventure racing company for a year and a half, about. And they just had a different way of doing things, and like, and I was like, I don't know, and but it was good. It was very good learning experience, and it was very good about I learned a lot. Yeah. And I mean, that's what life is, right? It's all just a learning experience. And like my buddy's texting me right now. He's like, have you seen the weather for Bethel tomorrow night? I'm like, I'm gonna be underwater, dude. Like,
it's supposed to be pretty shitty.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing, dude. It's gonna be just a deluge of rain, dude. It's gonna rain till like 3 a.m. too. So like I'm just gonna be, and I'm gonna be out working in the rain tomorrow with kids. So
Nice.
and I got a text from my boss that we might have to pull, if there's gonna be high winds, we're gonna have to get them out of the woods. Like, I'm like, this is going to be an unmitigated shit show tomorrow. I'm like, this is great. Let's just lean into this. This is life. This is why life is so interesting. Because I'm like, what's going to happen? Don't know. Let's go.
No.
I saw the
like,
dead ones up at SPAC, Saratoga Performing Arts.
Oh yeah, Saratoga.
And,
Yeah.
And it was pouring rain, and all the people who had like lawn seats were just like dancing in puddles, and it was great. We really had a
That's
good
what I'm
time.
all about.
I was out on the line, so we had a good time.
A blast out there.
Yeah.
I'm
The
up on
lawn's
the lawn.
awesome.
I'm on the lawn for all three of these shows. So I'm like, I don't care. Like,
I couldn't imagine going
Saturday
to
and
see a
Sunday are
band
gonna
like
be beautiful,
Phish
though.
not on the lawn. Like, I know it's far, but like it. No way.
I lived in California for 10 years, dude. Going to see them in the summer indoors. In San Francisco, it's like the summers are worse than the winters. Like, I saw them in August. I saw them like 9 times or something at Bill Graham. They came every summer in like August or July.
Yeah.
And I saw them indoors, and it was so weird to see Phish indoors, because to me they are like my summer band. I saw them I was out of high school in 1994. I saw them that in July, whatever, like, and then just like, it took me like a year and a half to really get into them, but then it was like I started going to tons of shows. But when I think of summertime and the weather starts getting nice, I'm like, what's a tasty Phish jam? I'm like, oh, let me pay for live Phish for a couple months, whatever, because they're gonna go on tour. So I'll listen to the show. But like, I just have them so strongly associated with summer. And I've been in Virginia Beach and Camden. I've been to some crazy shows in downpours. Like, but it's always like, 88 and humid as fuck, and you dry off like by the end of the show. But I was like, I'm gonna be soaking wet tomorrow night. Like, what's this gonna be like?
That's rad.
So we get a bathtub gin, hopefully.
Nice. We took our kids.
Yeah, hopefully that'd be nice.
Did we take them to Bethel? No, we took them to Syracuse to go see Phish.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they loved it.
Okay.
Yeah,
they liked it.
Yeah,
dude, there's so many families at shows now. It's great.
Yeah,
there's so many little kids at shows, dude.
We were literally like at the back. Like it was like us and then the concession stand.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good. I think we freaked out the chick in front of us. She was like dancing and stuff, and then like there was 2 kids behind her, and I think she was like, I don't want to be near kids right now, and left because I totally get it. I was like, I don't want to be near kids either. If I was the way you were.
Some crunchy hippie mama was like, I'm not feeling these kids right now.
No, dude. One time, so like, I mean, I did a bunch of drugs, right? But this is just a silly story. So, and I used to be in a band, and we went to this dude's house. And I found out years later he was a kindergarten teacher. And I was like, that's just messed up. But we went to his house, and we were playing and we were jamming and stuff. And he came out and he was like one of those guys who was just constantly on acid. And he did the amount of acid that like he just ripped off. Like he just had a piece of paper and was like, you want just like this many? It wasn't like cut up pieces or whatever. So we're all there, and I don't know what we were on this particular night, but it was something. And all of a sudden, these 2 little kids just come out of a room and are like, hey, we can't fall asleep. And I was like, what the fuck are those? Like out loud. It was like we were like 20. I was like, there should not be kids in here. The amount of drugs that all of us are on, are you kidding me right now? And I was like, we need to leave. Like, this isn't cool. We should not be around kids.
That's
So just,
funny.
you have,
Right,
like,
I'm
kids
taking
and
my
just,
kids
like,
to a
had
Phish show now. So
I feel like the crowd has gotten a lot safer. I feel like the crowd. I remember when the crowd got really weird in the late 90s, when in like 96, 97, when all the
yeah,
dead people finally were like they had nowhere to go and they came into Phish and
yeah,
like and then like the drugs got harder and the parking lots got weirder and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel good anymore.
yeah.
I would never bring a kid to those fucking shows in the late
No,
like
not at all.
imagine bringing a kid to like Camden 1999 show. Like, dude, no. I almost got shot at. Like,
Yeah.
but now it's like, they're playing like safe venues and it was like I remember where was it? A couple summers ago, we saw them in they played a bunch of shows on Atlantic City Beach.
Uh-huh.
And there's so many kids there. And I'm like, oh dude, this is kind of cool. I'm like,
Yeah.
my buddy Elliot from Philly. Like I drove down from Connecticut, met up with some other friends. My buddy Elliot brought his like 6-year-old daughter and she stayed up
Yeah.
the whole time. Like, and I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, is this fun or is this child abuse?
Little both.
No.
It's
But like, yeah, it was so funny. Like she's like, Daddy, I'm so tired now. He's like holding her, like we're on the boardwalk, like talking,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. And he's like, all right, I
We
gotta get this
left.
kid home. I got an hour and a half. Yeah,
Yep.
he's like, I got an hour and a half drive back to Philly. Like she's gonna sleep the whole way. I'm like, all right, dude, sweet. I'm like,
Yeah. We left. I think
yeah,
we left
but it's-
with like one or two songs left, and then when we did split, they were my youngest was asleep on a blanket or something like that on the lawn, and then I was
Yeah.
like, all right, we need to roll. But my 10-year-old,
I took my kid to his
fucking blast.
yeah, I took my kid to his first concert this summer. We went and saw Michael Franti at Powder
Oh,
Ridge.
nice.
And yeah, and we had a blast, like whatever.
Yeah.
Like he was out till 10:30. Like he's like, this is so cool. I'm like, yeah, dude, rock and roll. Like this is
Yeah.
what your daddy does. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, he's like, what other concerts can we go to? I was like, oh no, this is it. You're gonna see like this is what you're gonna see, like Michael Franti, or I'm gonna take you to like the Fairfield Playhouse for like fake
exactly.
Beatles or whatever. Again, dude, that's what you're gonna see. I was like, you're not going to a real concert. Like,
Yeah.
no offense
That's
to Michael
the
Franti.
problem that I'm running into with my kids. So my oldest is into like pop stuff, right? Like so, like I took her to see Harry Styles, which was just exorbitantly expensive.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Stupid. And
Yeah.
then I got her tickets to go see Noah Khan in Canada, and that was the same thing, just
Nice.
dumb expensive. And then my 10-year-old likes good stuff, but like she doesn't. She likes music and whatever. But my 8-year-old is into some like cool shit, like shit that I want to go see. Like there's this Japanese hardcore band called Hanabi that she found that she
Ooh.
absolutely loves, and you got to hear the growls on the lead singer. Like they're these really
How do you spell it? How do you spell it?
It's Hanabai, I think it is. It might be two N's, but it's Hanabi, and it's just like, and they talk in like they sing in Japanese, so she has no idea what they're saying. But then like all of a sudden they'll do like those little like anime noises, and you're like, Cultra Peachy, and then they just start screaming, and you're like, what? And then she loves a meal in the sniffers. Like I'm like, she's sitting there like just like taking a shower, and all of a sudden I'm like, what are you listening to, dude? And she's like, oh, I just found this. I'm like, what?
Yeah. My kid's been rooting around Spotify lately, and he's like,
Yeah.
so there's a bunch of like the emo screamo revival bands, or like there's like new bands that so my kid's like into this stuff, and I'm like, do you want to hear the original stuff? Do you want to hear like Taking Back Sunday and like Hawthorne Heights and some of that shit? And he's like, no, I want to hear this like band Star Set or whatever. I'm like, all right, hey, you know what, you like what you like. I'm like,
yeah. There was something recently that happened with my kids like that. Like they played something, and I did the whole like, this is an old song, and it's an old song to me, and it was a cover of a song then, like it like goes through, and they're like, no, and like take them through the whole thing. They're like, this sucks. I'm like, yeah, yours does too.
It's funny because it's like watching your children develop a personality when like before, I feel like they were so like, I don't want to, what's the word I want to use? Like my kid was always kind of wild, but like, just like normal. Like now that he's got like opinions and shit, I'm always like, oh, why do you think this way? And it's like so interesting to watch them develop a personality.
It is. It's really cool to watch them have like their own shit, like you're saying, right? Like because like up to a certain age, they'll just like they'll just say whatever the last thing you said was. They're just like, yeah, you're awesome. We'll just regurgitate your thoughts. and then they like have their own, and you're like, whoa, wow, that was fucking cool. I don't know, man. I think kids are wild, man. Like it's wild to like it's so I watched, this is gonna sound really fucking creepy. But one of the things that I really enjoy is like watching like young infants like try and figure things out, and like there's this look in their eyes that you could see like why they're like moving their hands or picking things up. Here's the creepy part. There was a student at the kung fu class, and this younger girl, and I was doing this thing because she was like figuring the same thing out. And while she was figuring out these moves in this form, you could see the gears like clicking and going through things. And she was intently watching the instructor. And I think that I love watching people learn, and I love watching kids, develop thing. And I don't even know if it's learning. Maybe it's just them like accomplishing something, because it's the same thing. Like I love watching people finish a race that didn't think they could, like those people who have that like mid struggle piece, and like you see them and you talk to them and you kind of help them through something, and they come out on the other end of it, and you're like, fuck yes, that was great. Like I love that. I don't know, and I love doing that with kids too, like just watching them do that.
Just watching those races, the 10,000 final.
Yeah.
And when Grant Fisher got like stepped on like his foot, like whatever,
Yep.
kind of rattled. I feel like it rattled him. It dropped him back a couple, and then he fought his way back up. But then watching this kid, the Cole Hawker or whatever, like, dude, that's one of the best races ever. Like, and it's like I wish I like could have shut the world out and like got home and like watched that without anybody saying anything, to be like that surprised. Even though like I knew, because like everybody, like I was getting texts about it and shit. I was like, fuck, man. I'm like, I'm at work. I can't watch.
I watched it live.
Thanks.
It was awesome. I knew when it was on, so my wife and I went down and turned it on live. And
nice.
I was yelling at the television. I was like, holy shit. First I was like, holy shit, Ingebrigtsen is so afraid of Kerr's kick. He's going to try to gap the field. And the first fucking lap of a 1500, nobody does that in an international race. And I was like, this is going to be a really fast time. This could be a world record. You know, and then like the way it all developed was amazing to me.
It was so close.
Yeah. And then that Ingebrigtsen, he's still racing Kerr when he enters the stretch. And so he's like, he leaves the door open. He like starts to move to his right, because I think he's trying to race Kerr still, who's on his shoulder, and that's when Hawker goes right past him. And I was like, fuck yeah, that was dude, great racing. That was amazing.
It was. I didn't think he was going to be able to do it. I was like, why is he hugging the inside, right? Like he's not going to be able to get around him. Like he should be moving over to his right. And then I saw that and I was like, what the, like, you dumbass. Like that was just a terrible move.
Yes. Yeah, one of my friends who was a fast track runner, he's like, we were always taught that you move to the center when you're coming down the home stretch, as long as there's nobody on your shoulder. If there's somebody behind you on your shoulder, you never give the inside up. Never. You know? I was like, but he wasn't concerned with the guy on his left shoulder. He was concerned with the guy on his right shoulder. You know?
Right, but that
wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
That was
There's
really
a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's weird. Like I loved watching, I mean, and I know it's pretty much over at this point, but like I loved watching all these games and like watching the difference in like some of these people. Like we watched a bunch of the gymnastics with our daughters, and like I don't know if you watched it, but if you watch the beam where like Simone and some other people fell off, it was just such a wild thing to watch, because here are these women who like were complete underdogs. Like the women who won, the girl who won first place, I forget what her name was, but she almost didn't fall. She was like one of the first or second people to go out. Nobody thought she was even going to come close to winning. Like not even a little. And she won gold. Like she was shocked that she won.
Yeah, she was amazing.
And it was just awesome to watch that.
That was great.
Yeah.
And you know, when they show you that, the view of the beam from like a one way and like above it, and you realize like that thing, it's 4 freaking inches wide. They're doing that stuff on a 4-inch piece of wood. It's crazy.
When she landed, one of them like landed and her foot fell off, and when it landed on the beam, it like took up more than half of the beam, and she still fell off, and you're like, it's crazy. Like it's just, man, my feet, one of my feet wouldn't have fucking fit on that thing.
I
love seeing people's.
That's great.
See people's takes on like Instagram about it and shit, or like Facebook or whatever, where it's like like, oh, that's the most amazing thing ever. And then the judge is like, oh, that's going to cost points. And it's like, I don't know what the fuck anybody's doing. Like when I'm like watching high diving, I'm like, holy shit, that was insane. And they hit the water and they're all like, ooh. And I'm like, was that bad? And they're like, oh, he's not going to get good marks for that. I'm like, the dude did 9 fucking flips. Like I'm pretty sure he took his underwear off while he was falling and put it back on his head and then got it back on his fucking legs before he hit the water. Like, I don't know. Is that good? Is that not good? Like, I don't know what the fuck.
One of the things that amazed me about the diving thing is that woman, like one of the announcers, predicted the numbers every time. She's like,
yeah.
He was a little past vertical. That'll probably only get him 6s, and then 3 6s would come up. And I'm like, what are you, the judge or something? It's like exactly what they're gonna get. Oh, like that's gonna be 8s. 8s come up. You're like, wow.
They have earpieces in. They're listening.
Yeah, right? I guess.
Yeah, right. Or it's going the other way, right? Like she's saying it and she's taking it.
Yeah, that could be. The judge is writing it down as she says it. Yeah.
Yep.
That's funny. I was arguing with my brother years ago, and he was like, I was watching the Olympics. It was probably 8 years ago, whatever, or something like that. And he's like, yeah, there's two kinds of games, right? There's ball and there's chase. And I'm like, huh, are you right about that? And it was like, I guess the rationale behind it was like, yeah, there's either a game that involves a ball and like two teams have to stop each other, right? Or like some type of puck or something, right? Like something needs to be stopped, or chase, which is either like you're running after somebody or you're chasing their score. And I was like, oh shit. So like, think about it, is every game ball or chase, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's you can boil human all athletic competition down to ball or chase.
That's like the one about sandwich, like sandwich, taco, and bowl, or whatever, and like it's like a grid.
This was a huge discussion at camp like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, guys, let me get the website out. It's on thecuberule.com. I believe the Cube Rule. It's about, yes, if it's what makes something like a pancake, or what makes something like a taco, what makes it a sushi, or it's like a ravioli, a Pop-Tart's a ravioli, or is a ravioli a Pop-Tart, right? Like there was some funny shit on there, but
some good ones.
Yeah.
That's
it. Got four balls, but
that's the stuff that, like, and I'm gonna sound friggin' old, but like that's the shit that I miss without the internet and without the phones and stuff. Like you would sit and like just talk about that dumb shit with your friends, like, and that was and I think like that's one of the things that I love about ultra running too, is that like even though you have your phone with you, you're not on it a large part of that time. Like you can't just like sit there and just be like browsing, unless you're like somebody like Michael Ortiz, who, like, I don't know if you guys follow him, but like he posts these, like, I used to like yell at him and tell him I was going to take his phone when he came to our races, because he would just post these lengthy Facebook things. I'm like, dude, if you're like struggling, give me your fucking phone. But anyway, like, you're not doing that stuff. You're out there, you're running, you're talking to the person next to you, and you have these conversations that are real. And I don't know, not to sound like anti-tech or anything, right? But like, it's just, I don't know, I kind of miss some of that stuff. I miss,
when we were kids,
that real connection. What's that?
I used to love to argue over song lyrics with my friends. We had so long song lyrics arguments. And you can't do that anymore because somebody will just Google it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what the lyric is. But
excuse me while I kiss this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me while I kiss this guy.
Yeah.
Excuse me while I kiss this guy.
What it didn't SNL did that with like Wayne's World or something like that, and he did that, and like there was a Nirvana song where I think it was Rape Me, where he said like, "Hey, wait," and he was like, What do you want? You calling me? What do you want?" Like, instead of saying "Hey, wait," he thought he said "Hey, wait," and they had a whole bunch of them with it. And I think "Excuse Me While I Kiss This Guy" was one of them for sure.
Taking lyrics literally, that's great.
Yeah. Oh, that's another good one. I saw one the other day that said Steve Miller. It said, Steve Miller said, "Some call me the gangster of love." And then it said, the rest of the band says, nobody calls him that.
Nobody calls him the gangster. Yeah.
But one of the cool things though about the internet, and this is something that came up today.
Yeah.
So I'm a lead counselor. I have another co-counselor, whatever. And then we have 2 assistant counselors that are like college kids basically. And one of them's 19, goes to NYU, and he goes for jazz. And then the young woman, she's 22. She's going to start her senior year at UConn, and she's like, so we always listen to music. At the end of the day, we like clean up after the kids are gone, and we kind of like game plan about like what we're, how the day went, what's going to go on tomorrow. But we always put music on, as there's like Bluetooth speakers in these classrooms because we use a school. And she's like, I've been on like a huge Kinks riff lately, and I'm like, you know the Kinks? I'm like, I figured you listen to like Future and like Cardi B and like Charlie XCX. And she's like, oh, I listen to all that shit, but like she's like, I'm really into the Kinks too. And I was thinking, and she's like, well, you don't think like a 22-year-old girl could be into the Kinks? I'm like, we just listened to like a deep dive. I'm like, all the real Kinks songs, like Waterloo Sunset and like not just the popular shit, like whatever. And she was like, I was like, that's super fucking cool. Like, and she's like, yeah, it was like, it was because of a friend's record player. But then like after we listened to a Kinks record on a record player, she's like, I went home and like just listened to everything on Spotify. And I'm like, there it is. Like the kids have access to like so much shit. I remember how hard we had to work to like, I remember buying records. I remember like, I think we talked about this before. I remember ripping Columbia House off for eight CDs for a penny so many times.
You just change your name a little bit. Like James and Jimmy were two completely different people.
Exactly. Yes. There was a James, a Jim, and a Jimmy living at my house. And they got 24 fucking CDs from Columbia House.
That's great.
We did it where we had apartments at our house too. We had like apartment 1. The mailman was like, "This is," and they're like, "Yeah, no, nobody lives here. Don't worry about it." Well, that was actually my dad's idea. Was the apartment 1, and I was like, I like it.
But I just remember like having a tape. If you had a sick tape collection or a sick CD collection, like you were fucking into music, dude. Nowadays, it's like. You could never buy a physical album in your entire life and still know the entire, discography of fucking Genesis or whatever. Like, hey, good for you. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, that is I think that is kind of cool. I don't want to gatekeep and be like, oh, you guys
absolutely
can't listen to this music. You're not cool enough for this, whatever.
No, I mean, I don't think that it's bad. I think there's a lot of great things about it, right? I mean, there's so I mean, shit, this conversation, right? Like all that stuff. I mean, and there's a lot of good things that happen out of it. I wish there was like just a like a pause, like even with the music thing, right? Like I was talking about this, like I exist still because of a garage band. Like there's no doubt in my mind that whatever I would have went through, either, just like normal, like growing up stuff or, like serious depression or the drugs that I did, all that stuff, that stuff, I would not be around anymore if it wasn't for the fact that I can go to that house and play in that band. And to me, that's part of the stuff that like, I want to see. But on the same token, like the amount of talent and people that have come, because like as much as Spotify and TikTok and Instagram sucks for some people, that stuff has really been able to change some people's lives. Like if you look at that guy like Noah Khan, like he posted a video, the Styx season or Season of the Styx, whatever the hell the name of the song is, he posted that and blew up and then sold out Madison Square Garden. If it wasn't for the fact that he was able to do that, I mean, on this phone, there's more tech than we had growing up to create stuff, right? Like we were literally taking a 4-track and trying to get, 7 or 10 tracks out of it by dumping them down. And, you could do so much with just your phone. And that's awesome. Like watching these kids come into that and like find stuff. And like you're saying, like finding new bands or finding other stuff. I mean, there's kids that I listen to on Instagram that I'm like, these guys are fucking great. I can't wait for them to drop an album.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Isn't it great? It's still discovering new bands. Like, and I'm like, that's one of those things I've been doing my whole life. And I'm like, how did I not know this band for years? How did I not know, there's just, you're never going to be able to hear it all, right? Like you're never going to be able to,
a lot of good stuff out there. A lot of
there is absolutely. And it's easier for them to get noticed, right? Like there is, like there's a person, I mean, you gotta like come up with some kind of shtick. Like there's this guy, Jesse Wells, that I repost all the time. He does that stuff, but he plays his guitar in the middle of the woods. And he just like starts play. He's just out there and he like plays his song and records it and posts it. He has studio stuff, but he just does that now, and that's how he started to get popular on Instagram, and he got his name out there. So
Noah Kahan, I think, was a big TikToker. I think that's
that's
what he blew up. And I saw a thing where he tried to go to that Sound on Sound Festival or something, and he couldn't
Uh-huh.
get in last year, and now he's headlining it this
Yeah,
year. So it's like
that's
1 year apart.
amazing.
That's
Right. And that's
Yeah.
and that would not have happened. I mean, like I said, that wouldn't have happened. I still think that there's like I think the downside to that then is that like that lack of connection that you have, right? So like I don't know if you watched it, and just to kind of bring it back to Phish, I actually they played with Billy Strings recently, or he like sat in.
Yeah, they played
And
a couple nights with him. Yeah.
yeah, and I was listening to one of the jams and I was watching it and it sucked. It was so bad. Everybody said it was great. I thought it was terrible because they were like playing and you could see that like Trey and Billy had no idea. Maybe it was more like Trey like had no idea how to let Billy breathe for a little while. And like it was
Yeah.
like doing this thing and whatever. And the rest of the band, Paige, Mike, and friggin' Fishman just stopped playing. And they
Yeah.
stopped, let them kind of sort it out and then build it back up again. And I like talked about it to my wife with so much passion because I was like, that's
Yeah.
what jamming is. Like that's what when you
Yeah.
get on and you kind of just are playing music and you're in there and kind of and when they all came back, it was like, oh, I needed a minute. And it just had it, and then it was able to like be structured. And I was like, I miss that. I miss that connection with people doing those kinds of things. And I just
Dude, I just
that's
got like yeah, I just got goosebumps hearing you talk about music like that, dude. 'Cause it's like that's like yeah. That's why I got all this shit like over here. It's like,
Mhm.
I'm just
Yeah.
constantly yeah.
We used
And,
to say it was when you started listening. That was like when we were in the band, and we'd say like you stopped playing and you started listening. Even though you were
yeah.
still playing, you were just listening to everything that was happening and whatever it was. I know like the Black Crows kind of say it's like all one piece of music, and like they just hopped on for a little while. And I don't know. I think that stuff's really wild, and I hope more people get together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an awesome statement. I like that.
Yeah.
More people should get together.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I feel like that, like that should wrap things up, kind of. Like, how are we gonna get better than that?
I'm looking at the clock right now. I'm like, fuck, it was almost 2 hours. This is good, man. This is really good
Yeah,
content.
it's good.
Awesome.
Hells yeah, Vin.
Cool, man.
This was awesome, dude.
Yeah,
Very nice.
sure.
Jimmy, you got to get out to a Tesla. That's
man.
a cool race.
Tesla. So it's funny. I just signed up. I just signed up for Nipmuc a couple days ago. I'm like, I'm gonna do Nipmuc marathon. That's 8 weeks out. I can train for that and like have an okay race there. And I'm like, and then I was looking at weekends, like because I'm a single dad half the time, whatever. So I was like, I actually have my kid that weekend that Tesla's happening. But dude, I'll get up there I'll get up there one of these. Yeah,
Really? Yeah.
My
you want
kids
to
will
crew
be
your
there.
dad? You want to crew your dad?
Yeah,
Dude,
there you go.
we had somebody, I forget who it was. Oh, it was Jim Lampman. I think he had his nephew come. And his nephew just passed out most of the time over in like the crew area. And it was like, and he was there like making sure he needed anything. And like he didn't really need anything, but I think it's like one of those things like if like shit went weird, like he would need somebody there. And he just kind of same thing. He just sat there and slept most of the time. He was like, cool.
Yeah,
That's
that's awesome.
All right.
That's it, man.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, dudes.
Very cool.
Let's stick a pin in this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Right
Vin.
before we do it, I got to say one thing.
Oh, go for it.
Congrats to Thad, who Vinny knows because he is a regular volunteer at Tesla. Congrats to Thad and Oak, who finished their 5th Badger last weekend.
Well, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
The 500-mile buckles and all those
That's cool.
or whatever those things are. Scotty gives all that stuff out. So yeah,
Congrats, my dudes.
well done.
Yeah, very cool.
I'm sure lots of other people have done cool stuff too, but hey, I can't get involved.
Yeah, was I on the Strava this weekend? I don't know if I saw anybody do cool stuff, but I'm sure people did cool races and
Sure they
stuff,
did.
and showed up and blowed up places. Sweet. All right, dudes.
Cool.
Vin, really
Have a-
good
have a
seeing you
good-
again.
Yeah. Same here.
I got to get
Yeah.
back out there, but my health has been so crappy, but I do want to do that 100 again because you give so much time, and this might be my last chance. Maybe I should go,
Ooh.
because you're changing the format, this might be the
Yeah,
last.
it's staying until Monday sucks. Just too much.
I was talking to Lampman about it. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Like I might go do the Hainesport 48 because it could take me a long time to do 100. He's like, Tesla's 54 hours. I was like, yeah, but it's on a trail. It's I gotta go up that hill. Like, last time I did it, I could barely move at the end. We'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. It is. I mean, it grinds on.
It's good though. I like that race.
Yeah. Agreed.
Since Fred's a lawyer, I'm going to let him ask you a lot of questions. We're going to grill you, dude. I know it sucks because it's like I want to ask you all these questions now, like off the record, but I'm like, I know it'll make for a better. I know Art will be like, don't ask him shit.
So what's the deal? Art has COVID?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what he said. Hold on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have COVID and not slept well for a night in a week. I was hoping that I could have you guys handle the show with Vin tonight. I canceled on him last time, so I don't want to do it again. I'm like, you fucking right, you better not. So and then Celeste is like, I can't make it either. I was like, Fred, me and you, dude, like this is gonna be great. Like, yeah. I was like, let's party. And I just got my kid to bed. Here we go. Great. Nice, recording on the cloud. Yes. Here we go.
Right on.
Yes.
How old your kid?
8.
Nice. Right on.
He's hilarious, dude. He's into Roblox and Minecraft and stuff. And
that's rad.
Oh, watching the YouTube videos, watching people play video games and like
bonkers.
Oh, it's so fun. I tell him, I was like, when I was a kid, dude, I would like legit ride my bike over to my friend's house. He'd be playing a video game. I'm like, cool. I'd be like, let me play, dude. He's like, oh, it's only one player. I'm like, peace out. Later. Have a good day. Like, fuck that. I'm not watching anyone play video games. I'm playing or I'm going, dude. Like, but these kids will sit and watch other people play video games for fucking hours. It's insane.
And they're making bank on it too. Like those kids are just
those dudes are millionaires.
Yeah. Like, and every time I see like these ads that are insane, like I feel like they're posted to like incite like anger, and they're like 13-year-old millionaire buys house for family. I'm like, fuck yeah, that kid did. Like, hell yeah, get it.
Yeah, dude. That's how my kid knows like all these. He's like, oh no, he knows all the cars that those guys have. He's like, that guy's got a Lambo. I'm like, wait, you're saying Lambo? I'm like, you're 8, dude. He's like, did you know what a Lamborghini was when you were 8? I'm like, yeah, I think like the bad guy in like 80s movies always had like a Lambo or a Ferrari.
Yeah, and it had to be yellow.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, so it's so funny because I'm not gonna like, I'm still at this age, I'm not gonna watch him play video games. So that's why like my brother gave us his PlayStation. So we play a couple games like Need for Speed and like he doesn't like soccer. I really think soccer's fun, but like what else did we play? We had like Monopoly for it. We had like Uno. We were like legit playing Uno on freaking PlayStation.
My kids, unfortunately, kids still suck. So like I have to go play.
Yeah. Wait, how old are yours?
So I've got 18. She lives down with my ex-wife down on Long Island, and then I've got 10 and 8 here. So yeah,
that's my guy. Yeah, I still play with him, but he's always like, "Let's wrestle," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm gonna crush you, bro."
Yeah,
I'm like, "You see how sharp my elbows are? Let's go!" Like,
look at my fist the size of your face.
Let's go, bro. Yeah. Talk about. I was like, I will never hit you, but like legit, if you ever like. Because he has this fake poop that he puts in my bed all the time. It's like he pranks me. Yeah, like, if you ever actually poop in my bed, I will probably punch you. I was like, I'll punch you in the ass or something like that. I'll never.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, you're gonna hit me. I was like, no, I would never hit you. I still wouldn't hit you, dude. But just know that I can kick your ass.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm pretty strong.
Yeah.
Like I dad's strength. My kids are in Kung Fu, and Nicole and I started taking it with them. That's fucking rad, man. Because like we get to fight them. My little one's feisty, so like she gets in there and like she spars when we spar and stuff. It's pretty rad.
Yeah. Did you notice like are your kids like more disciplined?
No. My kids are still
now.
I mean, my kids are good. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
but they're really good. I mean, my wife I don't want to say like she did a good job, but I was traveling all the time. Um, when they were
Yeah.
real young, and she really did well with like them and doing that and like a little bit of that stuff. And then with me, I just try and like actually like treat them with respect and like teach them shit. And or when we're teaching them shit, and they seem to respond well to it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then so they've always been pretty disciplined. But it's cool to see them do that stuff. I think the coolest part to me was we Nicole and I started like a year after they did. So
Okay.
they outranked us and still outrank us at the moment. So like it's kind of cool, like being all lined up and have to bow in, and like they get to stand up before we do, and like there's stuff that they know that we're technically not allowed to know, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't think
Oh,
kids
that's
get
rad.
that, right? Like they don't realize that your parents are like infallible. They just kind of like, my parents are the greatest thing in the whole wide world until they're assholes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't realize yeah, I didn't realize my dad was human until I was probably 12.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you the moment I realized my dad was a human. Like we were putting stuff together. We were putting a pool together, and he had to check the sand level on the inside of it. And you know how like the ladders to get into a pool are only one-sided. So he jumped
Yeah,
onto the
yeah.
sand and fell and like hurt himself. And I remember like looking at it and being like, oh,
Shit, yeah.
it was only like 3.5, 4 feet. Like, he should have been able to handle that and been like, yeah, he was like 40 something and out of shape and fat. He couldn't have done that.
No, that's funny because like I remember when we were really little, like my dad I remember like watching my dad like jump a fence. I was like, yo, that was like a hurdle.
Yeah.
Like, how did that dude do it? And then like how out of shape he got, and then like he got back in good shape. I'm like, but it was like weird, yeah. Like I'm like, oh shit, I'm like the same age,
Yeah.
now. I guess my dad was like, I
Yep.
would have been my parents had me at like 30 or whatever when they were
Okay.
30. So like, yeah, so like at my age, my kid would have been 17, whatever. My
Yeah.
kid's 8, whatever. So I had I had him at what, 38 or 39. Like so
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird. It's weird being like, man, like my dad was a human dude with like emotions and like
Yeah.
problems and shit.
Yep.
Like, yeah. So fucking weird. Where's Freddie?
Yep.
Freddie's here, but he's not here. He's
Can't
probably,
figure it out.
Fred, go if you can hear us, Fred, go out and go back in. I'm gonna text him actually.
What happens when you get old guys doing all technology and stuff? You watch any of the Olympics, man?
Dude, I've been watching all the replays because I guess yeah, what time? It's like they're 7 hours ahead, right? So like I guess a
Yeah.
lot of the events are happening like during the day and stuff. Like
Yep. Yeah.
I'm a counselor, so I'm out in the woods with kids all day, like starting fires and
Oh,
putting fires out and
nice.
telling them which mushrooms you can and can't eat and stuff like
Yeah.
that. um, yeah, but like I'll get home and someone will post something on Facebook, so I kind of already I know the winner, who the
Right,
winner
right,
is
right.
now, whatever.
Yeah.
And then then the kids at camp are always like, "What's the medal count? What's the medal count?" I'm like, "You guys are obsessed." I'm like, dude, countries are like a freaking completely made up thing, guys. Like
Yeah.
countries are not real. Like this shit is all fucking crazy, dude.
It's just
I'm
some
like, oh,
bunch of
dude.
dudes
I'm
just
like,
drew a bunch of lines, and that's what we call ourselves now.
yeah. And they were
Yeah.
like, yeah, but like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm like, guys, all those dudes went to college in the United States. Like, all these athletes around the world, like, a lot of them went to college in the United States, like,
Yeah.
trained in the United States. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not a contest about countries, guys. It's just
Yeah.
freaking, it's like, whatever. He's like, a lot of those dudes
Yeah,
trained
it's
together, that
it's
race together.
essentially
So,
what country you got drafted to. Like that's really
yeah,
it. It's
exactly.
not like there's not a lot to it. I mean, the dude who was
Yeah.
pole vaulting and like broke all those records was Swedish, but he was born in America. And then there was like some
Yeah, he
other
went to Louisiana State, right?
something like that. Yeah, yeah. And then there was another
Yeah, he went
person
to
that I saw
LSU.
recently,
He
same
did,
deal.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like all those dudes, like the middle distance runners, whatever. Like those
Yeah.
dudes all train in the States, live in the States,
Well,
and
absolutely.
went to college here. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Um,
I just think it's
Fred's
nice
gonna
to
restart
watch
his
like
computer
the
here.
the
Yeah.
one-offs that do it, right? Like that Lithuanian woman who won, or was she Lithuanian or something? She won like the first gold medal for her country ever. Like, and they're,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and like they're talking about putting her on like money and shit. I'm like, that's a different vibe.
Oh,
Yeah,
sick,
exactly.
dude.
Like,
That's rad.
and I saw some like joke that was saying that, like, if you win a gold medal, you get something like 36 grand or something like that from America, but like you get like half a village if you do it from like the Philippines, like completely different. There he is.
Hey,
What's up, buddy?
it worked.
Yes.
Hey. Sorry, guys.
It's
That
all
was,
good.
computer fun.
But did you get a new
I'm wondering how
computer
much
recently?
art. I think we just. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
This is not a new computer or anything.
No, I was gonna say,
Like, my cat sleeps on it sometimes, so
I'll do it.
I think that he may have reset stuff. So
dude,
Yep.
I've got a 12-year-old MacBook Air here that like it has to be plugged in all the time. If I take it off the plug, it dies in like 12 minutes.
my wife has the first version of the Microsoft Surface.
Oof.
It came out like 12 years ago or 14 years ago or something, and she refuses to replace it. But like every now and then it crashes because it won't last a minute off of AC because it's got no battery power at all anymore. So like once a week there's a crisis, but
And you can't do anything. That's what I have. And you can't do anything with those things. Like you
Right.
can't fix them, touch them. Like it's garbage.
Yes, I'm on my third one.
Yeah.
But, she likes the generation 1.
Yeah. No way.
So have you guys been talking about Phish at all yet?
No, dude, I have that written down here. I have a bunch of stuff on the agenda here I want to talk about with Vin, dude. So I don't know how to read this. Should we do we do like the whole fucking intro? I don't know how to do it. I don't have a script. Do you have a script?
No.
Should we just tell Art Art, we just fucking started talking and you can edit
Art's
it
gonna
now,
do the
right?
intro music and everything. And I think this is episode 301, right? Is that what it is? 301?
301. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because Ellie texted me last week. It was like, "Where are you? It's episode 300." I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh yeah." So the
Cultra Crew, come and have a listen to the Cultra Crew, the largest town, the monkey tune. Come and have a listen to the Cultra Crew, Cultra Crew, Cultra Crew. Put Desatin all over you, make your ass crack feel like new. Come and have a listen to the Cultra Crew.
Fuck. Oh my fucking.